Okay, so as from yesterday, I'm Shannon McAllister. I'm presenting today in my capacity as the co-chair of the Polar Observing Assets Working Group. I am co-chair with Bill Manley. If any of you have the privilege to know Bill, you know that really Bill is the driving force behind the Polar Observing Assets Working Group and behind this registry, and I just do what I can to support Bill. So, today I'm going to be giving a brief overview of our new resource for information sharing, which is the Registry of Polar Observing Networks, also called RoPON. And this tool is designed to help showcase and integrate the summed contributions of multiple systems across the high latitudes. So broadly speaking, there is a recognized need for an integrated Arctic observing system with a means of identifying strengths and gaps, a knowledge map to clarify directions, and ways to build capacity to better meet observing goals. However, the challenge is obtaining a comprehensive perspective across a highly fragmented and distributed landscape of observing efforts. Hundreds of agencies, organizations, projects, and programs observe climate and environmental phenomena at high latitudes, each with its own geographic extent, thematic scope, governance, and/or funding. And without coordination or improved information sharing, it's really difficult to meet user needs. To help address this challenge, the Polar Observing Assets Working Group was formed in 2020 under the International SAON initiative. Everybody here knows SAON, right? Sustaining Arctic Observing Networks. To make observing-related information more findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable, aka the FAIR principles, obviously. To act as a bridge between the polar observing and polar data communities, making it easier for organizations to populate, deploy, and share catalogs of observing assets, and to reduce cost and effort while showcasing and integrating across systems. And if you are interested in this, you can sign up at polarobservingassets.org to join our monthly meetings or just to stay informed. Please, if you're interested as well, you can just come and speak to me during this meeting. In the polar observing community, there are lessons to be learned from the polar data community. Based on progress made over the last decade with what could be called dataset level metadata, we can apply these same solutions, metadata standards such as ISO 19115, WIGOS, and others, such as semantic technologies, with codists or controlled vocabularies to assist with search and aggregation transfer protocols for consistent access and federated search. But in this case, we're not looking for data sets and dataset level metadata, but for structured information about observing assets. POAG, Polar Observing Assets Working Group, is making progress on 3 tasks. We are creating a registry of polar observing networks, highlighting asset inventories and presenting details on access and interoperability. We're building crosswalks and tools to facilitate harmonization across implementations, and we're creating a guide to make it easier for networks to populate, deploy, and share catalogs of observing assets. POAG is concerned with what we have defined as observing assets. These are discrete individual components of infrastructure. So these include research and monitoring sites such as stations, facilities, plots, moorings, super sites, etc. Mobile platforms such as buoys, ships, aircrafts, etc. And satellites for space-based observation systems. We're also looking at related activities, so scientific research projects, field-based campaigns and scientific cruises, and the overarching programs, networks, and observing systems themselves. RoPON highlights each network's observing assets, discrete individual components of in situ infrastructure, research and monitoring sites such as... Bill, did you write the same thing twice? Yes, you did. Okay, we're going to skip that. Sorry about that. When you're using somebody else's slides, it's so much fun. All right, one of the outcomes from POAG is a network-level metadata model listing the elements that describe polar observing networks with definitions, examples, and controlled vocabularies. It underlies the RoPON database and may be of interest to others that wish to track details about observing networks. POEG laid the groundwork, but funding from NOAA has allowed some of us to build and release the Registry of Polar Observing Networks, or RoPON. It is a catalog of systems and related organizations that coordinate or track observing activities and infrastructure at high latitudes, and is available now at polarobservingregistry.org. Clicking on a card leads to a network landing page, which shows discovery level details encompassing network description, observational scope, spatial extent, links to associated data repositories, whether they have their own catalog of observing assets, and links to more information. We currently have 43 networks in RoPON, including AOOS, ComNap, Aloka, Interact, Polaran, CIOS, and SUSE. More networks will be added in the coming weeks. I can see, for example, that Bill already has my database Ada listed in here. I know it's not up yet, but it should be by next week. So in addition to the observing networks, we also have discovery portals. These are catalogs or organizations that are not observing networks per se, but compile and share information about observing activities and infrastructure. RMAP, IASIF, I can't pronounce that one, and PolarDex, for example. The technology architecture for RoPON uses open source solutions with a role-based access system, CMS and web framework, Postgres relational database, and a development environment. And all of this is containerized and virtualized for reproducible deployment. Funding from NOAA has allowed us to move RoPON beyond a prototype with improvements in scope, functionality, and interoperability. It's actually been moving really quickly. We have upgraded technology architecture, including a dashboard for populating and editing network landing pages. We've done refinements to the website and user interface, and an updated network metadata model with a new field and other refinements. In the new future, we are planning to add many more networks, identify network representatives and provide logins to the dashboard for them, or update network details, allow for public machine readable access to the content in RoPON. We're going to be collaborating, well, we are collaborating with scienceonschema.org to build a profile for observing networks. This has stalled a little bit, but we're working on it. And outreach with web usability testing and distributed metadata curation. Beyond RoPON, we've also proposed building a prototype polar observing site discovery tool. It will harvest site-level information from 5 source catalogs of observing sites, AOV, Oscar surface, etc. You can see them up on the page there. This sort of approach with aggregation from machine-readable endpoints has been accomplished in the polar data realm, but it's experimental for metadata about observing assets. And the idea is to view information about tens of thousands of sites and platforms across dozens of observing networks. This aggregating site-level catalog hinges on these catalogs making their metadata records publicly accessible. Note that we're not going to be replacing any of these source catalogs, and it will rely on them to be comprehensive. If any of these source catalogs go dark, this will compromise the new tool. So all of this is with the goal of integrating polar observing to better meet user needs, making it easier for science planners to assess status overlapping gaps, network managers to co-locate with existing power and communications, and to best utilize limited resources, funding officers to track observing activities and avoid duplicated effort, individual researchers to identify and collaborate with related facilities or projects, data managers like us to cross-link to networks and specific observing assets, and community members to leverage observational efforts and data collected nearby. Here are a few specific recommendations for stakeholders. We encourage sharing of observing related metadata. Don't reinvent the wheel for observing related metadata. Bill made me say, don't reinvent the wheel. Take advantage of existing portals for observing related information and engage in POEG. That's one of the big things is if people work with or have observing assets, we would really like to work with you and help make the system better. If you'd like to add your network, you can go here to suggest a network. You can go to the RoPON website, you can email Bill or Jan René here, or you can even come talk to me and I will get you hooked up. Thank you so much. All right, we don't need the extra slides unless somebody has very specific questions. Bill's included them in case. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I'll ask a question. I think you said in the middle that you really relied on some of the sites being up and that they can't go dark, otherwise there might be problems for the system. Was that part of it?
Yeah, so it won't shut our system down or anything, but it means that we're not in control of it, is basically what we're saying. It's like a little disclaimer that if they go dark, we can't provide that material, and there's not much we can do about it if that happens.
No, but is there a way of sort of gracefully, I don't know, handling that to let people know that it's like, what would be sort of the error handling routine or whatever you'd call it for that?
What would be, how would we deal with it if it happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, we haven't been asked that yet, and I'll have to confirm with Bill or Jan here, but I'm thinking that we would probably put up a small notification on the site to let people know that it's currently not active, and we'll let people know when it comes back up. I think this would also lead in very well to Jan's efforts in making sure that we're doing data rescue, et cetera, if it's a permanent going dark, which we hope doesn't happen.
No, that's great. Thanks.
Any other questions? Hey, Pip.
Hello. How you doing? So I know Bill's another one of the users of graduate student labour, which we are also familiar with. But do you have any lessons from RoPON about how you get all the members of the community to keep their information updated and current?
I mean, we go through this with every system. With us, it's a matter of just engaging as much as we can with people. RoPON is also engaged very well with the, sorry, I'm feeling a little jet lagged and I'm trying to remember, the Arctic Observing, we run this. The AOS. Yes, the Arctic Observing Summit. Summit fell out of my brain, thank you. Yes, we are very well engaged with the Arctic Observing Summit. We attend that pretty well every time it's held. As we know, my director, Maribeth Murray, is highly involved with the Arctic Observing Summit. And so we also really try and engage with people through that. I think more and more with climate change coming into people's perspectives and things like that, people are really starting to get on board with how important Arctic observing is. And so it's kind of a we're all in this together and just engaging and making sure we can do as much as we can to support each other, especially given the current state of things with certain networks losing funding and stuff like that. Yeah.
And that sounds like it's very much, it works in the Arctic. Is it similarly successful in the Antarctic? I'll just shout.
Yeah.
Please? Oh, because I'm online. Sorry. That sounds like it's working really well for the Arctic. Is it working similarly well in the Antarctic?
I think so. We don't have as much engagement with Antarctic as we would like, but we're pretty well connected with SUS and other members like that. And Jan has pretty good connections there as well. So maybe. We are doing our best, and we are looking for more Antarctic engagement. Part of the reasons of presenting here. If anybody has any other questions, just to keep to time, please come speak to me or to Jan after. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Shannon. We can give another round of applause.